As Senator Chuck Schumer facing backlash for supporting a GOP-backed funding bill from Democrats, many Democrats are calling now on New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to launch a primary challenge against him. In fact, Politico reporting on a new poll showing AOC leading Schumer in a hypothetical 2028 New York primary matchup by double digits, in fact. The survey finding this: 55% of Democratic likely voters saying they support or lean towards supporting Representative Ocasio-Cortez, while 36% back or lean toward backing Senator Schumer. How about that? Let's bring in Theron Bond, if we can, a Democratic strategist, as well as Tony Kinnett, a radio host. Good to see both of you here. Theron, I'd like to go to you on that, and perhaps what do you make of that poll? I mean, that's double digits there. Obviously, this is a ways away. We know that. But there is a little bit of an appetite for this.
It is a ways away, but it can never be too early to start working on 2026, let alone 2028. Democrats have been behind in strategy and messaging, and there was a clear display of that in November of 2024. So we do have to get things moving. I'm not surprised, though, when we saw Leader Schumer and what he did with the CR vote, there were a lot of Democrats that were unhappy. There were a lot of could-be Democrats that were unhappy. So I'm not surprised to see more people rally around AOC. She used to be a really big firebrand, and she's toned it down and hyper-focused it much better than she did initially, or at least that was the perception. But people want bold, fearless leaders, and that's what AOC represents right now, and certainly it's much more than Leader Schumer.
Well, Ocasio-Cortez did speak about Schumer voting for that GOP funding bill vote. I want to play that for you, and then Tony will jump to you.
I think there is a deep sense of outrage and betrayal. And this is not just about progressive Democrats. This is across the board, the entire party. I think it is a huge slap in the face, and I think that there's a wide sense of betrayal if things proceed as currently planned.
So, Tony, is there a little bit of politics at play here? He's the minority leader. He needs to keep the government open and funding and working. He has a major responsibility there, and he held his end. He didn't want to do it. You could tell there was a little bit of reluctance with it. He made that very clear. But then you have, again, members of his own party, his own caucus coming out against him, Tony.
I mean, this is the natural progression of how it was always going to take place. We saw during the 2024 election cycle that the Democrat Party moved further and further to the socialist left, to the identity politics left, and the communication from voters was, we don't want this. In fact, a lot of groups like 90s labor Democrat groups, union members ended up leaving the Democrat Party and voting for Trump in the November elections. And then the Democrat strategist came out afterward and said, oh, we're going to moderate, we're going to bring back, we're going to calm things down. We're going to leave all of the transing the children behind and the hyper-socialist politics behind. And no, of course not, because you give power to progressives like these and they grab onto it. And now Schumer, the corporatist establishment wing of the party, is losing control as this next group moves ahead. And then what do you have behind AOC? You've got Jasmine Crockett, who's even further to the left and is trying to take power from her. It just turns out that when you lie down with dogs, you wake up with fleas.
I wanted to move, if I can, to former Vice President, Kamala Harris, sharing a fear-filled message, if you will, while delivering a speech at the leading Women-Defined Summit. This in California. Let's watch this.
When one person, when a few stand with the courage, that is the courage exhibited by the leaders in this room every day, to stand, to have the courage to say, I feel fear. The courage to say what is happening is wrong. The courage to say that there is a way that we must chart to get through this. Understanding our power in the democracy we still have if we hold on to it. Courage is contagious.
So still out there making the rounds there. Harris also goes on to say, quote, I'm not here to say I told you so. This is what we knew would happen, end quote, referring to President Trump. Theron, can I get your reaction to that? And maybe do you find yourself aligned with her thought process there?
Well, contrary to the other panelists, believe Democrats didn't go left enough while the GOP went further right. And that's why the messaging didn't stick, because they weren't resonating with people, and Democrats were asking them to take firm stances, which they didn't do, and too many people waffled. I can appreciate the former vice president's courage in that moment, but a lot of Democrats were asking her to have courage and to speak about her prosecutorial record and things that were questionable. They were asking her to have courage and talk about the honesty in former President Joe Biden's condition, and that's what we didn't see. It's amazing for anyone to have courage after the fact, but in that moment, we needed her to have courage. And honestly, if she had had a bit more, then we might not be in this position, and maybe her message would have resonated a bit stronger, because she would have had enough courage to be honest about what was in her past, how she would address it, and how she could better resonate with voters and bring forth better policy.
Tony, final thoughts to that?
The discordance is stunning. I mean, claiming that, he didn't go far enough, to stand on that 20% issue, is that there's the reason Democrats lost. They didn't go far enough. And then suggesting at the same time that it takes courage to stand over there. That's not courage, that's stupidity. I mean, the idea that you need to go further over to this radical left position in order to somehow identify with Americans to get on the 20 issue of everything instead of the 80 issue the public feels is bewildering. It's staggering to see no strategy from this party at all. I'm shocked that now that the tariffs are coming through and the Republicans are arguing with some on the inside there, the Democrats aren't taking a unified response here. You've got Chris Murphy talking about fascist conspiracy theories. This is a party that is beyond disarray. It's a mess.
I gotta leave it right there.
Stupidity is thinking you know Democratic messaging when you don't, and also not acknowledging the divide between the Republican Party. Now there's Trump loyalists and then there are conservative Republicans, but nobody wants to mention that.
No, there are divides across both sides, undoubtedly. Theron Bond, especially, obviously with tariffs that we're speaking about. Theron Bond, Tony.